Life doesn't truly begin until we've done the groundwork. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our journey through the first few decades of life is not the main story, but merely preparation. Life really does begin at 40, he said. Up until then, you are just doing research. It's a bold claim, one that challenges how most people view aging. We're taught to fear growing older, to see midlife as a period of decline, chaos, or crisis. Popular culture is filled with cliches about the so-called midlife crisis, a time of existential dread, rash decisions, and desperate attempts to cling to youth. But Jung offers a radically different perspective. What if this stage of life isn't a crisis at all, but an awakening? What if it's not an end, but a new beginning? To understand this, we need to look at what the first 40 years of life represent. Think of those years as a phase of exploration, a time when we gather experiences, build identities, and learn how the world works. It's a time of rapid growth, where we absorb ideas and values from the people and culture around us. But it's also a time of searching. Who am I? What should I do with my life? What will make me happy? These questions drive us in our youth, yet the answers we find often feel incomplete. In those early decades, we're trying to make sense of life while still figuring out who we are. We build careers, relationships, and families, but often with a focus on external success and societal approval. We're learning, striving, and sometimes failing, and all of it shapes us. Yet, as Jung suggests, all of this is preparation. It's research. It's laying the groundwork for something more profound. By the time we approach 40, we begin to sense that the old ways of living no longer satisfy us. The priorities that once seemed so urgent, climbing the career ladder, fitting in, meeting expectations, start to lose their grip. We realize that much of what we've been doing was shaped by others' definitions of success and happiness. And that realization, though unsettling, is also liberating. It's the beginning of a new phase, one Jung called individuation, a process of becoming whole, of living life on our terms. This shift is not sudden. It doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, often beginning with small, quiet questions. Is this all there is? Am I living the life I truly want? These questions might emerge during moments of reflection, a career milestone, a significant birthday, or even just a quiet evening alone. But once they appear, they don't go away. They grow louder, demanding answers, and those answers require us to confront ourselves in ways we never have before. The world may see this as a midlife crisis. It's easy to label these moments of questioning and change as a breakdown, but Jung invites us to reframe the experience. What if this is not a crisis at all? What if it's an opportunity? What if this stage of life, with all its challenges, doubts, and shifts, is exactly what we need to become the person we were always meant to be? Midlife, as Jung saw it, is not the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of something far more real, meaningful, and authentic. To fully appreciate Jung's perspective, it's helpful to consider how he viewed the first half of life. During this stage, we are focused on building what he called the persona, the outward identity we present to the world. This persona is influenced by our upbringing, culture, and social expectations. It's the version of ourselves that seeks approval, fits in, and succeeds in the eyes of others. It's a necessary phase. Without it, we wouldn't learn how to navigate society or establish the foundations of adulthood. But the persona is not the whole self. It's a mask, a role we play. And while it serves its purpose, it's only one part of who we are. The problem arises when we become too attached to it, mistaking it for our true self. By the time we reach midlife, the cracks in the persona begin to show. The roles we've been playing, the successful professional, the devoted parent, the dutiful partner, start to feel restrictive. We begin to sense that there's more to us than the image we've been projecting, and this is where the real work begins. Jung called this process of moving beyond the persona individuation. Individuation is about integrating all parts of ourselves, not just the socially acceptable ones, but also the hidden, shadowy aspects we've ignored or suppressed. The shadow, as Jung described it, contains everything we've rejected about ourselves, our fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled desires. Facing the shadow can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it's essential for growth. Only by acknowledging and accepting these parts of ourselves can we become whole. At midlife, the process of individuation takes on new urgency. The questions we face are no longer about external achievements, but about inner fulfillment. What truly matters to me? What do I want to leave behind? What kind of life do I want to create? These are deeply personal questions, and the answers can't be found in the expectations of others. They require us to turn inward, to listen to our own inner voice. This inward turn is often accompanied by a shift in priorities. In our youth, we are driven by ambition, competition, and the desire to prove ourselves. We chase after success, recognition, and material rewards. But at midlife, these pursuits lose their appeal. We begin to value different things: authenticity, connection, meaning. Life becomes less about doing and more about being. It's no longer about proving our worth, but about living in alignment with our true selves. Psychologists and researchers have found that this shift is supported by changes in the brain. Neuroscientific studies show that as we age, the brain's emotional centers become more balanced. We become less reactive and more reflective. We are better able to regulate our emotions and approach life's challenges with a sense of calm and perspective. This emotional maturity allows us to make decisions based on our values rather than our fears. We stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. This doesn't mean that midlife is without its challenges. On the contrary, it can be a time of profound upheaval. The process of questioning and redefining ourselves often involves letting go of old identities, relationships, and goals. This can feel like a loss, and it's easy to see why some people experience it as a crisis. But as Brené Brown points out, what we call a midlife crisis is often an unraveling. It's a time when we are challenged to let go of who we think we're supposed to be and embrace who we truly are. This unraveling can be messy. It might involve difficult conversations, major life changes, or periods of uncertainty. But it's also a time of incredible growth. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the primary drive in human life is the will to meaning. At midlife, this drive becomes more urgent. We are no longer content to live according to someone else's script. We want a life that feels significant, even if it looks different from what we once imagined. For many, this means confronting fears that have held them back. The fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of stepping into the unknown. These fears can be paralyzing, but midlife offers an opportunity to face them head on. It's a chance to rewrite the story of our lives, to let go of what no longer serves us, and embrace what truly matters. Abraham Maslow, a pioneer in humanistic psychology, described this process as self-actualization. It's the drive to realize our full potential, to become the best version of ourselves. At midlife, self-actualization takes on a new depth. It's no longer about achieving external success, but about finding inner fulfillment. It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. This process is not easy, but it is rewarding. Studies show that people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond often report higher levels of life satisfaction than those in their 20s and 30s. They feel more connected to themselves and others. They are less concerned with what others think and more focused on what brings them joy and purpose. This is the gift of midlife, the freedom to live on our terms. Jung believed that this freedom comes from embracing the full complexity of who we are. It's about integrating the light and the dark, the successes and the failures, the dreams and the disappointments. It's about accepting ourselves completely, even the parts we find difficult to face. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, Jung said, but it is also the most liberating. Midlife is not a time to despair over what we've lost. It's a time to celebrate what we've gained: wisdom, clarity, resilience. It's a time to build a life that reflects our true selves, a life that feels real and whole. It's a time to stop researching and start living. In this sense, midlife is not the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of something far more profound. It's a turning point, a chance to step into the life we were meant to live. And while the journey may be challenging, it is also deeply rewarding. Life really does begin at 40, not because we have all the answers, but because we finally start asking the right questions.